Hey there, movie lovers! Picture this, a world where shadows hide deadly secrets, where every step could be your last, and where one man stands against an army of assassins with nothing but his wits, his skills, and a whole lot of determination. That's the electrifying universe of John Wick. Chapter 2. The 2017 action-packed sequel that takes everything you loved about the first film and cranks it up to 11. If you're sitting there wondering what to watch next, let me tell you why this movie deserves a spot at the top of your list. I'm here as your guide through this cinematic thrill ride, sharing every juicy detail from the director's vision to the budget breakdowns, the stellar cast, and all those behind-the-scenes gems that make this film a modern masterpiece. Trust me, by the end of this, you'll be itching to hit play and dive into the adrenaline-fueled world of John Wick. So grab your popcorn, settle in, and let's unpack why John Wick. Chapter 2 is not just a movie. It's an experience you absolutely need in your life. First off, let's set the stage with the basics. John Wick. Chapter 2 hit theaters on February 10, 2017, after a star-studded premiere at the ArcLight Hollywood on January 30th of that year. It's the second installment in the John Wick franchise, following the massive success of the original 2014 film. Directed by Chad Stahelski, who also helmed the first one, this movie runs for a tight 122 minutes. That's about 2 hours and 2 minutes of non-stop intensity. It's rated R for its strong violence, some language, and brief nudity, making it perfect for adult audiences who crave that raw, unfiltered action. The film falls squarely into the genres of action, crime, and thriller, blending neo-noir elements with high-octane sequences that will leave you on the edge of your seat. And get this, it's produced in the United States, primarily in English, but with some multilingual flair that adds to its global underworld vibe. If you're a fan of films like The Matrix or Taken, this one will feel like a natural evolution, ramping up the stakes in ways that make your heart race. Now, why should you watch it? Because John Wick. Chapter 2 isn't just about explosions and fights, though there are plenty of those. It's about immersing yourself in a richly built world where assassins live by a code, hotels serve as neutral grounds, and loyalty can be as deadly as betrayal. The story picks up right where the first left off, pulling our legendary hitman back into the shadows to repay a debt from his past. Without giving anything away, let's just say John Wick finds himself facing a massive bounty on his head, forcing him to navigate a labyrinth of danger that spans continents. It's a tale of survival, revenge, and the unbreakable will of one man against impossible odds. The pacing is masterful, building tension like a coiled spring, and it expands the mythology of the John Wick universe in ways that feel organic and exciting. You'll meet new players in this shadowy game, discover hidden societies, and witness alliances that add layers of intrigue. If the first movie hooked you with its simplicity, this sequel reels you in deeper with world-building that's as captivating as the action itself. It's the kind of film that makes you appreciate the art of storytelling through movement and visuals, not just dialogue. Speaking of the creative minds behind it, let's shine a spotlight on the director, Chad Stahelski. This guy is a stuntman turned filmmaker, and his background shines through in every frame. Before directing, Stahelski was Keanu Reeves' stunt double in the Matrix trilogy, which explains the seamless blend of practical effects and choreography here. He co-directed the first John Wick with David Leitch, but took the reins solo for Chapter 2, bringing his expertise in martial arts and gun fu, that's gunfighting mixed with kung fu, to create sequences that are poetry in motion. Stahelski's vision emphasizes long takes and realistic combat, avoiding the shaky cam that's plagued so many action films. He wanted to honor the stunt performers, and it shows. The movie feels authentic because it is. Working closely with the writer, Derek Kolstad, who penned both the first and second films, they crafted a script that's lean yet expansive. Kolstad, known for his work on other action scripts like Nobody, focuses on character-driven plots where every action has consequence. The producers include Basil Iwanek, who founded Thunder Road Pictures and has been with the franchise from the start, along with Erica Lee and others who ensured the film's high production values. On the production side, John Wick Chapter 2 was brought to life by Summit Entertainment and distributed by Lionsgate, the powerhouse behind hits like The Hunger Games. The budget? A cool $40 million, which might sound modest compared to blockbuster behemoths, but every penny is on the screen. They filmed in stunning locations across the globe, starting with New York City, where the urban grit provides the perfect backdrop for high-stakes chases. Then there's Rome, Italy, with its ancient architecture contrasting the modern mayhem. Think narrow streets, historic fountains, and underground catacombs turned into battlegrounds. Montreal, Canada, stood in for some scenes, offering versatile sets for interior shoots. The production team even used practical locations like the Continental Hotel, which was filmed at real hotels and sound stages to give it that luxurious, forbidden allure. Cinematography was handled by Dan Laustsen, a Danish wizard who's worked on films like The Shape of Water. He used anamorphic lenses for a wide aspect ratio of 2.39:1, capturing the scope of the action with vibrant colors and deep shadows that enhance the neo-noir feel. The editing by Evan Schiff keeps the rhythm tight, cutting between fights and quieter moments to build suspense without ever feeling rushed. Let's talk music, because the score in this film is a character in its own right. Composed by Tyler Bates and Joel J. Richard, who returned from the first movie, the soundtrack pulses with electronic beats, orchestral swells, and rock influences that amp up the tension. Bates, known for his work on Guardians of the Galaxy, brings a gritty edge, while Richard adds those haunting motifs that echo John's inner turmoil. Tracks like John Wick Mode and Plastic Heart blend seamlessly with the action, using licensed songs sparingly but effectively. Think classical pieces like Domenico Zippoli's Sarabande arranged by Haim Shapira for poignant moments. The sound mix is in Dolby Surround 7.1, immersing you in every gunshot, punch, and revving engine. It's the kind of audio design that makes watching on a good home theater system feel like you're right there in the fray. Now, onto the stars who bring this world to life. The cast is stacked with talent that elevates every scene. Leading the charge is Keanu Reeves as John Wick, the stoic assassin who's become an icon. Reeves, at 52 during filming, trained rigorously for months in judo, jiu-jitsu, and tactical shooting to perform about 95% of his own stunts. That's right, he's flipping cars, wielding pencils as weapons, and taking hits like a champ. His performance is all about quiet intensity. Those brooding eyes and minimal dialogue convey volumes. Returning alongside him is Ian McShane as Winston, the suave manager of the Continental Hotel in New York, a character who's equal parts mentor and enigma. McShane's gravelly voice and commanding presence make him unforgettable. Then there's Lance Reddick as Charon, the hotel's concierge, whose loyalty and dry wit add warmth to the cold underworld. Bridget Moynihan reprises her role as Helen, John's late wife, appearing in flashbacks that ground the emotional core. John Leguizamo is back as Aurelio, the chop shop owner with a heart of gold, providing comic relief and mechanical expertise. New faces bring fresh energy. Riccardo Scamarcio plays Santino D'Antonio, a cunning Italian crime lord whose ambitions drive much of the conflict. Scamarcio, an Italian actor known for Romanzo Criminale, brings a sophisticated menace that's perfectly oily. Common steps in as Cassian, a formidable bodyguard and rival assassin, showcasing his physical prowess in brutal confrontations. He's not just a musician turned actor. His training in boxing makes his fights feel real. Ruby Rose embodies Ares, a mute enforcer who's all attitude and deadly precision. Her sign language communication adds a unique layer, using American Sign Language with a twist for the character's background. Laurence Fishburne reunites with Reeves, remember The Matrix, as the Bowery King, a mysterious underground ruler with a network of spies. Fishburne's charisma and booming laugh make him a standout, expanding the universe with his homeless army. Claudia Girini portrays Gianna D'Antonio, Santino's sister, a powerful figure in the criminal elite, bringing elegance and steel. Peter Stormare appears as Abram Tarasov, tying back to the first film with his Russian mob ties. Other notable supporting roles include Tobias Siegel as Earl, the Bowery King's right-hand man, and Eric Franson as a numismatic expert dealing in rare coins that serve as currency in this world. Don't forget the smaller but crucial parts. Franco Nero as Julius, the manager of the Rome Continental, channeling his spaghetti western roots for gravitas. Heidi Moneymaker and Aaron Cohen add to the action as assassins. Even the costume designer, Luca Mosca, plays the Italian tailor, demonstrating the bulletproof suits with flair. These suits, by the way, are a highlight, tailored with Kevlar linings that stop bullets, explained in a scene that's both informative and stylish. The attention to wardrobe detail, from John's sleek black suits to the villain's opulent attire, reinforces the film's aesthetic. Behind the scenes, the magic happens through dedication and innovation. Filming wrapped in 2016 after months of preparation. Reeves underwent intense training at 8711 Action Design, the stunt company founded by Stahelski and Leitch, learning to drift cars and handle firearms with expert precision. The team used over 300 firearms, all custom-modified for authenticity. Stunt coordinator J.J. Perry oversaw sequences that involved wire work, practical explosions, and animal training. Yes, there's a pit bull companion that's as loyal as they come. One fun fact, the Hall of Mirrors scene drew inspiration from classics like Enter the Dragon, using real mirrors for disorienting effects. Another, the movie's dog is named after the character's late pet from the first film, adding emotional continuity. Trivia abounds. For instance, the UK version was edited to tone down a suicide scene for a 15 rating, while the uncut is 18. A goof spotted by eagle-eyed fans. After intense fights, John's suit remains oddly pristine, despite the tailor's demo showing fabric tears from bullets. Chalk it up to movie magic. Quotes like the Bowery King's line, "$7 million is a lot of money, Mr. Wick. So, I guess you have a choice. You want a war? Or do you want to just give me a gun?" Capture the film's witty edge. The soundtrack album, released by Vares Sarabande, features 23 tracks that you can stream for that post-movie high. Reception-wise, John Wick. Chapter 2 was a hit. It boasts a 7.4 out of 10 on IMDb from over 561,000 ratings, with critics praising its choreography and world expansion. On Rotten Tomatoes, it holds an 89% approval from critics and 85% from audiences, lauded as a sequel that doubles down on thrills without losing heart. It earned 4 wins and 10 nominations, including Saturn Awards for Best Action Film and Best Actor for Reeves. Box office success? Massive. It opened with over $30 million in the US and Canada, grossing $92 million domestically and a worldwide total of $174.3 million, making it the highest grossing in the series at the time. Fans love how it maintains the franchise's style while introducing new lore, like the High Table and markers, blood oaths that bind assassins. But why watch it now? In a sea of CGI-heavy blockbusters, John Wick. Chapter 2 stands out for its commitment to practical action. It's empowering, stylish, and downright fun, reminding us why we love movies that make us feel alive. Whether you're new to the series or a die-hard fan, this chapter deepens the mythos, delivers jaw-dropping set pieces, and leaves you hungry for more. It inspired sequels like Chapter 3, Parabellum in 2019, proving its lasting impact. And just when you think you've seen it all in action cinema, John Wick. Chapter 2 comes along and redefines what pure, unadulterated thrill looks like. We're diving deeper into this masterpiece, folks, because there's so much more to unpack that makes this 2017 gem an absolute must-watch. If the first film was a brutal wake-up call, this sequel is a full-on symphony of chaos, style, and sheer cinematic brilliance. Let me keep guiding you through why this movie isn't just good. It's essential viewing for anyone who loves adrenaline-pumping stories told with flawless execution. Now let's talk about those breathtaking action scenes that everyone raves about. One of the standout moments involves John gearing up in a tailor shop, getting measured for a suit that's not just fashionable, but tactically armored, complete with a demonstration of its bullet-resistant lining that blends humor with practicality. Then there's the intense pencil kills that became legendary. Simple tools turned into deadly weapons in John's hands, proving that in this world, anything can be lethal if you're skilled enough. The catacomb sequence in Rome is pure genius. Dim, echoing tunnels filled with armed foes, where every shadow hides danger, and every shot echoes like thunder. John navigates this underground maze with a mix of silenced pistols and brutal close-quarters combat, switching weapons seamlessly as ammo runs dry. It's choreographed like a deadly dance, with long takes that let you appreciate the physicality. No quick cuts to hide mistakes here. And oh, the Hall of Mirrors finale. Imagine a disorienting gallery where reflections multiply the threats, inspired by classics like Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon and Orson Welles' The Lady from Shanghai. John and his adversary stalk each other through infinite duplicates, leading to a climax that's as visually stunning as it is tense. The way the mirrors shatter under gunfire, creating chaos while adding layers of misdirection, is innovative filmmaking at its best. These scenes aren't just fights, they're set pieces that push boundaries, using environment, lighting, and sound to heighten every moment. The supporting cast shines just as brightly in these sequences. Common as Cassian delivers one of the most memorable one-on-one battles, a silent, brutal subway fight that's all grapples, stabs, and crashes into crowds, ending in a respectful truce that honors the code. Ruby Rose's Ares communicates menace through gestures and fierce combat, her sign language taunts, adding a cool, unique flavor. Laurence Fishburne's Bowery King brings gravitas and humor, ruling over a network of pigeon-guided informants in the underbelly of New York. These characters aren't throwaways, they flesh out the world, showing different facets of the assassin society, from high-class Continental rules to street-level operatives. Behind the scenes, the dedication was insane. Keanu Reeves didn't just act, he transformed. He spent months training in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, judo throws, and advanced firearms handling, including reloading while driving or fighting. The stunt team at 8711 created Gun Fu Evolutions, incorporating more grappling and environmental weapons. They rehearsed for weeks, ensuring safety while maximizing realism, practical effects over CGI whenever possible, like real car crashes in the opening sequence where John retrieves his stolen Mustang in a demolition derby of vehicles. Fun fact, that opening chase used over 20 cars, all practically smashed, with Reeves doing much of the driving. The Rome segments were filmed on location, capturing the Eternal City's beauty against violent contrasts, ancient ruins and fountains juxtaposed with modern bloodshed. The production team shut down parts of the city for shoots, including the Spanish Steps area and real catacombs, adding authenticity that you feel in every frame. Back in New York, sets like the Continental were built with opulent details. Gold-trimmed bars serving forbidden drinks to killers, no business-conducted lobbies that feel like sacred ground. Let's not forget the smaller details that make the world immersive. The gold coins used as currency, minted specifically for the franchise. The marker system, a blood oath tattoo that's unbreakable. The sommelier scene, where John orders weapons like fine wine with lines delivered perfectly for that deadpan humor. These touches build lore without exposition dumps, letting you discover rules through action. Critically, the film was praised for expanding the universe intelligently. Reviewers noted how it avoids sequel pitfalls by raising stakes organically, introducing the High Table as an overseeing council without overwhelming the plot. Roger Ebert's site gave it 3.5 stars, calling it balletic violence. Variety highlighted the stunt work as Oscar-worthy in a better world. Audiences agreed, propelling the franchise forward. The success led directly to Chapter 3 and 4, plus spin-offs like the Continental series and Ballerina. The influence is huge. John Wick. Chapter 2 popularized long-take action again, inspiring films like Atomic Blonde and Nobody. It proved mid-budget action could dominate, relying on craft over spectacle. Even fashion took note. Those fitted suits became a trend, with brands copying the look. If you're into soundtracks, revisit Tyler Bates and Joel J. Richards' work. Tracks build from brooding synths to explosive orchestras, syncing perfectly with fights. One piece incorporates Vivaldi remixes for a concert hall moment that's chillingly elegant. And let's keep this journey going because John Wick, Chapter 2 has layers upon layers that deserve to be explored in full detail, making it one of those rare sequels that not only matches the original, but surpasses it in scope, ambition, and sheer entertainment value. Imagine stepping into a world where every character, no matter how brief their appearance, feels like they belong to this intricate web of assassins, criminals, and enforcers, all bound by ancient rules and modern firepower. The film masterfully balances high-concept world-building with grounded, visceral action, ensuring that you're never bored for a single second during its runtime. One of the things that truly sets it apart is how it treats violence, not as mindless chaos, but as an art form, choreographed with the precision of a ballet and the intensity of a street brawl. Director Chad Stahelski, drawing from his years as a stunt coordinator, insisted on showcasing the hard work of his team by using minimal CGI, relying instead on practical stunts that make you wince and cheer in equal measure. The result is a movie that feels tangible, where you can almost feel the impact of every punch, the recoil of every shot, and the exhaustion creeping into John's relentless pursuit. Delving deeper into the production intricacies, the team faced real challenges filming in Rome, coordinating with local authorities to secure permissions for shooting in historic sites while ensuring safety during explosive sequences. They built custom sets for the catacombs, layering real stone textures with practical lighting to create that claustrophobic atmosphere where sound design plays a huge role. Every footstep echoes, every breath is amplified, pulling you deeper into the tension. The wardrobe department deserves special mention, too. Those iconic suits weren't just off the rack. They were designed with input from real tailors, incorporating flexible materials that allowed for full range of motion during fights, while the Kevlar lining concept added a clever layer of mythology that ties into the practicality of this underworld. Costume designer Luka Mosca collaborated closely with Stahelski to ensure every outfit reflected character status. John's understated black for anonymity and lethality, the Italians' sharper, more flamboyant cuts for their old-world opulence, and the bodyguard's tactical gear for functionality. Even minor details like the watches, rings, and tattoos were chosen to hint at backstories without spelling them out. The sound department elevated everything further, mixing gunshots that crack with realistic sharpness, melee impacts that thud with bone-jarring force, and a score that swells at just the right moments to underscore emotional beats. Tyler Bates and Joel J. Richard experimented with blending heavy electronic elements with classical influences, creating themes that evolve throughout the film, starting subtle and building to thunderous crescendos during climactic showdowns. They recorded with live orchestras for authenticity, layering in distorted guitars and pulsing synths to match the neo-noir aesthetic. This soundtrack isn't background noise. It's integral, guiding your emotions from quiet menace to explosive rage, and it's why so many fans listen to it separately long after watching. Keanu Reeves' commitment can't be overstated. He wasn't just showing up to deliver lines. He embodied John Wick completely, losing weight to look lean and lethal, growing out his hair and beard for that haunted look, and pushing his body through grueling training sessions that left him bruised but determined. Interviews from the time reveal how he drew inspiration from classic action heroes like Clint Eastwood and modern ones like Jason Bourne, but infused it with his own quiet charisma. The supporting actors matched his energy, Ian McShane delivering lines with such authoritative poise that you believe he's the unchallenged ruler of his domain. Lance Reddick providing subtle humor through impeccable timing as the ever-professional concierge, and Laurence Fishburne chewing scenery in the best way with his larger-than-life presence, adding philosophical depth to his scenes. Common brought real athleticism, training extensively to make his fights feel evenly matched, while Ruby Rose's performance relied heavily on physical expression, conveying threat and loyalty without a single spoken word. These performances create chemistry that's palpable, turning potential villains into compelling foils that you almost root for. The film's editing deserves its own praise. Evan Schiff cut the movie to maintain momentum, knowing exactly when to linger on a wide shot of choreography or quicken the pace during chases. He avoided the common pitfall of overcutting action, instead trusting the audience to follow the geography of fights, which makes victories feel earned and defeats heartbreaking. This approach influenced countless action films that followed, proving that clarity enhances excitement rather than diminishing it. Marketing for the film was spot on too, with trailers that teased just enough of the expanded world and insane stunts without revealing key twists, building hype that translated to strong opening weekends. Posters emphasized Reeves' silhouette against dramatic cityscapes, capturing that lone wolf vibe perfectly. Culturally, John Wick. Chapter 2 tapped into a desire for straightforward, competent heroes in an era of convoluted plots, offering catharsis through John's unyielding competence. It resonated globally, performing well in international markets thanks to its universal language of action and minimal reliance on dialogue. The franchise's growth from here exploded, with merchandise like replica coins, suits, and even pencil sets becoming fan favorites, and conventions featuring stunt demos inspired by the series. Video games drew influence, incorporating similar gun-fu mechanics, while memes about John's invincibility flooded the internet, cementing his status as a pop culture icon. More trivia to savor. The movie features subtle nods to the first film, like recurring motifs of loss and redemption, without feeling repetitive. A scene involving a subway platform was filmed in actual New York stations during off hours, adding grit. The production insured Reeves heavily due to his stunt work, but he rarely needed doubles. One extended take in the catacombs lasted over 2 minutes, showcasing dozens of performers in sync. Critics who initially dismissed the first as revenge porn reevaluated the series here, appreciating the satirical undertones of bureaucracy in the assassin world, the endless rules, the paperwork of death. Ultimately, what makes John Wick? Chapter 2, timeless, is its heart beneath the hardness. Amid all the carnage, there's a story of a man clinging to his humanity, honoring promises even when they destroy him, seeking peace in a world that won't allow it. It's tragic, thrilling, and triumphant all at once, leaving you exhilarated yet thoughtful. Rewatches reveal new details, foreshadowing, visual motifs, character arcs that reward dedicated viewers. If you're building a collection of modern classics, this belongs there alongside the best of Hong Kong action, Japanese samurai epics, and American westerns. It's a bridge between genres, honoring traditions while innovating boldly. And speaking of that emotional core, John Wick. Chapter 2 weaves in themes of loyalty, honor, and the cost of one's past in ways that resonate long after the screen fades to black, making it more than just an action spectacle. It's a character study disguised in bullets and brawls. John isn't invincible by design. He's a man driven by unbreakable oaths, and the film explores how those promises pull him back into the life he desperately wants to leave behind. This internal conflict adds depth to every decision he makes, from accepting a marker, a symbolic blood debt etched in ink and blood, to navigating the treacherous politics of the High Table, that shadowy council ruling over the assassin world with iron-fisted traditions. The lore expands beautifully here, introducing concepts like excommunicado status, where breaking rules strips away protections and turns friends into foes overnight, creating a sense of dread that permeates the narrative. It's this blend of personal stakes and grand conspiracy that keeps you invested, wondering how John will outmaneuver systems designed to crush him. Visually, the cinematography is a feast for the eyes, with Dan Laustsen's lens capturing the contrast between opulent luxury and gritty violence in stunning detail. New York's bustling streets give way to Rome's timeless elegance, where a pivotal scene unfolds in a grand concert hall, blending classical music with modern mayhem as performers flee while John dispatches threats amid falling chandeliers and echoing notes. The color palette shifts masterfully, cool blues and grays for New York's underworld, warmer golds and reds in Italy to evoke heritage and betrayal. Wide-angle shots during chases emphasize isolation, making John seem like a ghost haunting the night, while tight close-ups on faces reveal the toll of constant vigilance. This isn't flashy Hollywood gloss, it's purposeful framing that tells stories within stories, like the subtle glances between characters hinting at alliances or rivalries unspoken. The fight choreography evolves brilliantly from the first film, incorporating more variety in weapons and environments to keep things fresh. John uses everything from antique revolvers to improvised tools, showcasing his adaptability honed from years in the shadows. Training sequences weren't just for show. Reeves worked with experts to master techniques like the center axis relock shooting stance, allowing for fluid movement while firing, which became a signature move. The team filmed multiple angles for each sequence, editing them into seamless flows that tracked the progression of battles, from initial skirmishes to all-out wars. Safety was paramount, with harnesses and pads hidden cleverly, but the authenticity comes from performers committing fully, taking real falls and hits to sell the brutality. Expanding on the cast's contributions, let's highlight how each actor adds unique flavor. Claudia Girini as Gianna brings a regal poise, her scenes charged with family drama and power struggles that feel authentic to Italian cinema traditions. Peter Stormare returns briefly but memorably, his Russian accent dripping with menace as he ties loose ends from the previous entry. Franco Nero, a legend from Django films, lends gravitas to his role as the Rome Continental's manager, sharing a moment with Reeves that nods to cinematic history without breaking immersion. Even background assassins, played by stunt performers like Daniel Bernhardt and Marco Zaror, get standout moments, their fights personal and intense, underscoring that no one is safe in this ecosystem. Production anecdotes reveal the passion poured in. The script went through revisions to heighten the international scope, with Kolstad collaborating on multilingual elements, Italian and sign language integrated naturally for cultural depth. Budget overruns were minimal, despite location shoots, thanks to efficient planning. They wrapped principal photography in just over 3 months, a feat for such complex action. Post-production fine-tuned VFX for minimal enhancements, like cleaning up wires or adding subtle blood, while keeping 95% practical. Sound editors layered in custom Foley for every impact, crunching bones, clinking coins, creating an ASMR-like intensity in quieter scenes. The film's legacy extends beyond box office numbers. It revitalized Keanu Reeves' career post-Matrix, proving he could lead action franchises into his 50s with physicality intact. It spawned a universe that's grown exponentially, with prequels exploring Continental origins and spin-offs delving into side characters. Fans dissect details endlessly, the meaning behind tattoo symbols, the significance of certain coins, the hierarchy of markers, all building a fan theory playground that's as engaging as the movies themselves. Humor sneaks in too, dry and deadpan, lightening heavy moments without undercutting tension. The tailor's excitement over custom gear, the sommelier's weapon tastings, Winston's wry observations, they provide breathers that make the violence hit harder. This balance is key to rewatchability. Each viewing uncovers new jokes, nods, or foreshadowing for later entries. In terms of technical achievements, the film earned nominations for its editing and sound at awards like the Saturns, where it triumphed as Best Action Josh Adventure Film. Critics lauded its escalation, with The Hollywood Reporter calling it a kinetic marvel. Audience scores remain high because it delivers what fans crave: escalation without dilution, heart without sap. If you're debating a marathon, start here after the first. Chapter 2 bridges the origin to the saga's epic scale, introducing threads that weave through subsequent films. It's accessible for newcomers too, recapping essentials subtly. The R rating earns its stripes with unflinching intensity, but it's purposeful, never gratuitous. And as we peel back even more layers of this incredible film, it's impossible not to marvel at how John Wick, Chapter 2, manages to honor the roots of classic action cinema while carving out its own bold, modern identity that feels fresh and exhilarating even years after its release. Think about the influences woven throughout: echoes of spaghetti westerns in the stoic hero archetype, the disciplined precision of Hong Kong gunplay from masters like John Woo, and the philosophical undertones of samurai films where honor dictates every swing of the sword or pull of the trigger. Chad Stahelski and his team paid homage without copying, creating a hybrid style that's distinctly Wick. Methodical, yet explosive, restrained, yet overwhelming. The way John reloads mid-fight, always counting rounds, always aware of his surroundings, turns basic mechanics into tense drama, making you hold your breath as magazines click empty and new threats emerge. This attention to tactical realism grounds the fantasy, letting you buy into the myth of the Baba Yaga, the boogeyman who isn't supernatural but superhuman through sheer skill and willpower. One of the most fascinating aspects is the expansion of the Continental network, those sanctuaries where no blood can be spilled, extending from New York to Rome with consistent rules that feel like ancient guild laws in a contemporary setting. The Rome Continental, with its marble floors, classical art, and discreet staff, contrasts beautifully with the gritty New York original, highlighting how this underworld spans cultures yet remains unified under the same code. Managers like Winston and Julius enforce neutrality with quiet authority, their hotels serving as hubs where killers recharge, network, and occasionally plot in hushed tones over expensive drinks. This world building is subtle yet immersive. You learn through observation how gold coins buy everything from cleanup crews to medical services, how tattoos signify rank and history, how a simple card grants access to forbidden armories. It's a society with its own economy, judiciary, and etiquette, satirical in its bureaucracy yet deadly serious, adding richness that elevates the film beyond mere shootouts. The performances continue to impress on repeat viewings, with each actor bringing nuance that deepens the ensemble. Keanu Reeves conveys so much with silence, his weary eyes speaking volumes about a man who's lost everything yet clings to principles that doom him. Ian McShane's Winston is the perfect blend of charm and steel, delivering monologues that feel Shakespearean in their weight. Laurence Fishburne's Bowery King steals scenes with theatrical flair, his pigeons symbolizing eyes everywhere in a surveillance age, his dialogue laced with biblical references that position him as a fallen angel ruling the damned. Common's Cassian matches John blow for blow, his respect born from shared professionalism turning rivalry into something almost tragic. Ruby Rose's Ares uses body language masterfully, her smirks and signs conveying arrogance and devotion, making her a silent storm. Even smaller roles, like John Leguizamo's brief but warm appearance, or Peter Serafinowicz's sommelier with his wine-like weapon recommendations, add flavor and humor that humanize this lethal realm. Technically, the film's mastery shines in its use of space and movement. Sequences are designed with clear geography. You always know where characters are relative to each other, heightening tension as John clears rooms or navigates crowds. The opening car sequence, retrieving his Mustang in a warehouse of destruction, sets the tone with vehicular ballet. Drifts, rams, and reversals choreographed like a fight on wheels. Later escalations build logically, from one-on-one duels to escalating waves of attackers, each wave introducing new tactics or weapons to keep the momentum evolving. Practical effects dominate, real glass shattering, real vehicles flipping, real stunt performers taking falls downstairs or through tables. Minimal green screen means the actors are truly in the environment, reacting to actual hazards, which translates to authentic performances and visceral impact. The score deserves another shout-out for how it mirrors John's journey, starting with mournful piano motifs that recall his grief, shifting to pounding percussion as conflicts ignite, incorporating cultural instruments during Rome scenes for immersion. Tyler Bates and Joel J. Richard collaborated with artists like La Castlevania for electronic tracks that pulse during chases, while classical covers provide ironic counterpoint to violence. The mix ensures dialogue cuts through chaos when needed, but action often plays with muted sound or heightened effects to simulate adrenaline-fueled focus. Behind-the-scenes stories highlight the camaraderie. Reeves bonding with the stunt team over shared bruises, Stahelski directing with hands-on precision from his stunt background, Kolstad refining the script to maximize cool moments without losing emotional threads. They storyboarded extensively, planning shots months in advance to capture the vision efficiently. Location scouting in Rome involved walking historic paths at night to find perfect shadows and angles, while New York shoots captured the city's energy in rain-slicked streets and neon glows. The film's impact on pop culture can't be understated. It birthed countless imitators, but few equals, proving audiences crave competent, stylish action over convoluted spectacle. It boosted interest in martial arts training, with dojos reporting upticks in enrollments inspired by Wick's blend of styles. Fashion lines released bulletproof suit replicas, pencil memes went viral, and phrases like, "Yeah, I'm thinking I'm back," became shorthand for resurgence. The franchise's growth into a shared universe reflects smart planning from this chapter onward. For newcomers, Chapter 2 stands strong alone but shines brightest in context, bridging the personal revenge of the first to the epic warfare of later entries. Its pacing rewards patience, quiet setups exploding into frenzy, mirroring real combat's bursts and lulls. The ending, without spoiling, delivers a gut punch that redefines John's path, setting up future conflicts with masterful inevitability. And let's not stop there, because the magic of John Wick. Chapter 2 lies in its ability to make every single element feel interconnected, from the smallest prop to the grandest set piece, creating a cohesive universe that pulls you in and refuses to let go until the very last frame. Consider the symbolism scattered throughout. The recurring motif of dogs as symbols of loyalty and loss, serving as quiet reminders of John's fractured soul without ever needing overt explanation. Or the way mirrors and reflections appear repeatedly, not just in that iconic finale but in subtle ways earlier, representing fractured identities, deception, and the multiplicity of threats closing in from all sides. Even the choice of weapons tells stories. John's preference for headshots as efficient mercy kills, contrasting with flashier opponents who waste ammo in sprays, highlighting his disciplined professionalism born from a lifetime of precision. These details reward attentive viewers, turning a straightforward plot into a richly textured experience where nothing is accidental. And every visual or auditory cue contributes to the overarching atmosphere of inevitable doom tempered by defiant resilience. The international flavor adds another dimension that makes the film feel worldly and expansive. Shooting in Rome wasn't just for pretty backdrops. It infused the story with a sense of old-world tradition clashing against John's American pragmatism, evident in the more theatrical villains who revel in drama and ritual, compared to the no-nonsense approach of New York operatives. The Italian sequences bring a flair of operatic grandeur, crowded museums turning into kill zones, reflective pools shattering under gunfire, ancient statues witnessing modern atrocities, creating poetic irony that elevates the violence to something almost artistic. Multilingual dialogue flows naturally, with subtitles handling Italian and sign language seamlessly, reminding you that this underworld transcends borders, united by shared codes that demand respect even among enemies. This global scope sets up future installments perfectly while standing alone as a thrilling travelogue through shadows. Diving into the stunt work once more, it's worth appreciating how the team pushed boundaries safely yet realistically. Coordinators like J.J. Perry orchestrated hundreds of performers, many doubling as background assassins, ensuring each had distinct fighting styles, some favoring knives, others grappling, a few incorporating parkour, to make hordes feel varied rather than repetitive. Reeves's doubles were used sparingly, mostly for extreme vehicle work, but even then, his face was composited in where possible to maintain immersion. The physical toll was real, cast and crew shared stories of ice baths and physio sessions, but the camaraderie built a family atmosphere that translates to screen chemistry. Women in the stunt team shone brightly, performing alongside men in brutal sequences, reflecting the film's equal opportunity lethality where skill trumps everything. The humor, often overlooked amid the intensity, is perfectly timed and understated, providing cathartic releases that make you grin in surprise. Lines delivered with straight faces, like the sommelier suggesting a tasting of grenades or the tailor casually discussing linings tactically forgiving, land because the world takes itself seriously, making absurdity funnier. Winston's dry wit when dispensing rules, or the Bowery King's theatrical monologues laced with street philosophy, add personality without derailing tension. This tonal balance is masterful, allowing emotional beats to hit harder after laughter, grief to deepen after triumph. Marketing and release details paint a picture of confident rollout. Early screenings built buzz through word of mouth, emphasizing the expanded mythology and insane action. The Red Band trailer dropped jaws with glimpses of Rome carnage and mirror madness, while posters evolved from simple silhouettes to intricate designs, incorporating coins, markers, and Continental crests. Home release included commentaries where Stahelski breaks down choreography frame by frame, deleted scenes adding context to character motivations, and featurettes on training that make you appreciate the effort exponentially more. The film's endurance comes from its universality. Themes of inescapable pasts, the weight of promises, finding purpose in chaos resonate across cultures and generations. It's quoted in gyms for motivation, referenced in debates about best action sequels, and studied in film classes for innovative choreography. Spin-offs and series expansions trace roots here, where the world first grew beyond one man's revenge into a sprawling saga. Comparisons to peers highlight its superiority. Where many sequels bloat with excess, Chapter 2 streamlines while expanding, trusting visuals over exposition. It avoids franchise fatigue by escalating stakes personally, making John's journey feel earned rather than contrived. For optimal viewing, pair it with a dark room, quality sound, and no distractions. Let the immersion take hold. Subtle details emerge on bigger screens. Sweat beads during fights, micro-expressions in negotiations, the gleam of gold coins changing hands. Ultimately, John Wick. Chapter 2 isn't merely a great action movie. It's a benchmark that redefined possibilities, proving style and substance can coexist explosively. It celebrates human potential through training, creativity, teamwork, while exploring darker impulses. Keanu Reeves became synonymous with resilience, the franchise a beacon for practical filmmaking in a digital age. And here's where John Wick. Chapter 2 truly cements its place as one of the greatest action sequels ever made, by taking the intimate, raw revenge story of the first film and transforming it into something epic, almost mythological, without ever losing sight of the human element at its core. The character of John Wick evolves from a grieving widower pushed to the brink into a reluctant participant in a larger game, a living legend whose reputation precedes him like a shadow that grows longer with every body left in his wake. People whisper his name in fear and awe, calling him the man you send to kill the boogeyman, and the film leans into that folklore brilliantly, showing how his past deeds have ripple effects that drag him deeper into obligations he can't escape. Yet beneath the escalating body count and increasingly impossible odds, there's a profound sadness. A man who just wanted peace, forced to become the instrument of destruction once more because honor demands it, because a marker is sacred, because breaking the rules would make him no better than the chaos he fights against. This tragic heroism is what elevates the movie, making you root for John not just because he's unstoppable, but because he's principled in a world that punishes principles. The pacing is another masterstroke, starting with a bang in that ferocious opening sequence that ties up loose ends from the first film with pure vehicular mayhem, then shifting gears into a deceptive calm as John tries one last time to stay retired, only for the plot to ignite and never let up. The journey from New York to Rome and back feels purposeful, each location serving the story rather than just providing exotic scenery. New York's rain-soaked streets reflect John's inner turmoil. Rome's ancient grandeur underscores the weight of old debts and family legacies, and the return to familiar ground heightens the desperation as consequences close in. Director Chad Stahelski orchestrates this rhythm like a conductor, knowing exactly when to pull back for character moments, like quiet conversations in opulent settings that reveal motivations, or unleash hell in extended action ballets that play out in real time, letting the audience feel every exhausting step alongside John. Let's appreciate the craftsmanship in the smaller moments too, the ones that make the world feel lived in and believable. The cleanup crews who arrive efficiently after bloodshed, disposing of evidence with professional detachment. The doctors who patch up assassins without judgment, bound by the same Continental rules. The beggars and homeless who serve as informants, showing how the underworld permeates every level of society. These background details aren't flashy, but they build immersion, making you believe this parallel society exists just out of sight. The props department went all out. Those gold coins are heavy, intricately designed pieces that clink realistically. The markers are custom leather-bound tokens with thumbprint seals. The weapons range from vintage classics to modern tacticals, each chosen for narrative purpose. Even the vehicles tell stories. John's beloved Mustang symbolizing his last tie to normalcy, destroyed and rebuilt as a metaphor for his own fractured life. The ensemble cast continues to deliver layers of excellence, with actors understanding that in this universe, less is often more. Restraint amplifies threat. Ricardo Scamarcio's Santino is the epitome of entitled arrogance, smooth and cultured yet utterly ruthless, his family ties adding Shakespearean betrayal vibes. Claudia Giurini's presence commands respect, her poise masking steel that makes her scenes electric. Laurence Fishburne's reunion with Keanu brings meta-joy while serving the plot. His Bowery King, a chaotic, neutral force who operates outside continental luxury, grounded in street survival. The mutual respect between professionals, nods of acknowledgement mid-fight, truces honored even in pursuit, adds moral complexity, showing that even killers have standards. Technological achievements behind the camera deserve endless praise. The camera work glides smoothly through chaos using Steadicams and cranes for dynamic movement. Lighting shifts from harsh fluorescence in underground battles to warm ambers in hotel lobbies, creating mood instantly. Post-production color grading gives the film its signature look. Desaturated yet vibrant, gritty yet beautiful. The practical effects team crafted squibs and blood rigs that burst convincingly, wire work that's invisible, pyrotechnics timed to perfection. The influence on subsequent action films is profound. Directors citing its choreography as inspiration, studios chasing that practical magic, audiences demanding clarity and creativity over chaos. It proved sequels can innovate, that mid-budget originals can outgross spectacles, that one man's vision executed flawlessly can launch a franchise phenomenon. For home viewing tips, watch with subtitles even in English to catch whispered details, crank the bass for those impactful gunshots and score swells, appreciate on the biggest screen possible to feel the scale of set pieces. Pair it with the rest of the series for the full saga, but savor it standalone for its perfect self-contained escalation. And if you're still with me here, soaking in all this passion for John Wick, Chapter 2, then you're exactly the kind of movie lover who will get the most out of this absolute gem of a film, because it rewards dedication with layer after layer of brilliance that keeps revealing itself no matter how many times you've seen it. One of the things that truly makes this sequel stand out in a crowded action landscape is its unwavering commitment to practical filmmaking in an era dominated by green screens and weightless CGI spectacle. Every punch lands with real weight. Every gunshot echoes with authentic recoil. Every car crash crunches metal in a way that makes you feel the impact through the screen. Chad Stahelski and his team at 8711 didn't just direct action. They engineered it with the precision of master craftsmen, drawing from decades of stunt experience to create sequences that flow like deadly poetry, where bodies move with purpose, environments become weapons, and momentum builds relentlessly until you're gasping for air right alongside John. as he fights his way through wave after wave of highly trained killers who are just as skilled and determined as he is. Think about the sheer physicality on display. Keanu Reeves, pushing 53 during production, throwing himself into every takedown, every stairfall, every prolonged grapple with a ferocity that sells the desperation of a man who knows one mistake means death. The training regimen was legendary. Mornings spent drilling jiu-jitsu transitions into firearm draws, afternoons perfecting car drifts on closed courses, evenings reviewing footage to refine footwork and timing. This wasn't actor vanity, it was total immersion, and it shows in the smallest details. The way John's breathing grows labored after extended fights, the subtle winces when old wounds reopen, the sweat that mats his hair and stains his impeccable suits. It's this authenticity that makes the action feel lived in rather than choreographed for cool points, turning potentially over-the-top moments into believable survival struggles where skill, preparation, and sheer will are the only things keeping our hero alive. The world-building reaches new heights, too, introducing institutions and rituals that feel ancient and unbreakable, like the high tables adjudicators who enforce rules with cold efficiency, or the vast network of support services that keep the assassin economy running smoothly. Tattoo artists who ink markers with solemn ceremony, map makers who chart safe houses across continents, bankers who manage accounts in gold coins that never trace back to any government. These elements aren't dumped on you in exposition. They're revealed organically through interactions, letting you piece together the puzzle and feel smart for understanding the stakes. The Continental itself becomes more than a hotel. It's a temple of neutrality, a place where the deadliest people on Earth can sit inches apart without drawing weapons, bound by consequences so severe that even the most vengeful hesitate to break sanctuary. This creates incredible tension in scenes set within its walls, where words become weapons and every glance carries threat. Let's talk about the villains again because they deserve it. Santino D'Antonio isn't just a power-hungry mobster. He's a product of privilege, someone who grew up in the system and believes he can manipulate its rules for personal gain, making his conflict with John not just physical, but ideological. His arrogance blinds him to the consequences, and Riccardo Scamarcio plays it with such oily charm that you almost enjoy hating him. Then there's Cassian, portrayed by Common with quiet intensity, a mirror to John in many ways. Same skills, same professionalism, same adherence to the code, which makes their confrontations feel personal and respectful, even as they're trying to kill each other. That subway sequence alone is worth the price of admission. Two masters trading blows in crowded cars, crashing through stations, knives flashing in dim light, all while civilians scatter in terror, ending in a moment of mutual understanding that's more powerful than any explosion. The visual language of the film is consistently stunning, with recurring motifs that tie everything together. The color red appearing in blood, wine, markers, and warning signs as an omen of violence to come. Staircases that John ascends or descends, symbolizing his fall, deeper into the life or brief moments of elevation. Water elements like fountains and reflections representing the ripple effects of choices. Dan Laustsen's cinematography captures it all with a painterly eye, using shadows to conceal threats, light to highlight isolation, and movement to guide your eye exactly where the action demands. The aspect ratio frames John small against vast environments, emphasizing how alone he is against the machine arrayed against him. The score continues to haunt long after viewing. Those driving bass lines that kick in when John switches to Wick mode, the mournful strings that underscore his reluctance, the sudden silence that punctuates devastating moments. It's music that doesn't just accompany the action, it becomes part of the rhythm, syncing with gunshots like percussion, building dread in quiet scenes, releasing tension in cathartic swells. Fun little details keep emerging on rewatches, the way different continental locations have their own aesthetic signatures, New York's classic elegance versus Rome's Baroque opulence, how John's suit gets progressively more damaged, yet he never loses that sharp silhouette. The subtle continuity nods like the new dog that represents fragile hope. The film trusts you to notice these things, rewarding attention without ever feeling pretentious. Its cultural footprint remains massive, spawning Halloween costumes of impeccably suited assassins, inspiring workout routines dubbed Wick training, influencing video game combat systems that prioritize fluid gun-fu transitions. It showed Hollywood that audiences crave competence porn, stories where heroes earn their victories through visible skill rather than plot armor. So, as we wind down this epic celebration of John Wick. Chapter 2. Let me leave you with this. If you haven't watched it recently, do it tonight. Turn off the lights, turn up the volume, and let yourself get completely lost in its world. Feel the adrenaline, appreciate the craft, connect with the tragedy beneath the thrills. This isn't just one of the best action movies of the 2000s. It's one of the best action movies ever made. Period. And believe me when I say that the more you dive into John Wick. Chapter 2. The more it gives back, revealing itself as not just a sequel, but a pivotal turning point that transformed a surprise hit into one of the most respected and influential action franchises of the 21st century. What started as a simple tale of a retired hitman avenging his dog became, in this second chapter, a full-blown exploration of an entire hidden society with its own laws, currencies, hierarchies, and unbreakable traditions. A world so richly detailed that it feels like it's always existed just beneath the surface of our own. The genius lies in how the film introduces all these new elements without ever feeling like it's overloading you with information. Instead, it trusts the audience to absorb the rules through immersive experiences, like watching John navigate the Continental's concierge services for everything from room reservations to body disposal, or witnessing the solemn exchange of a marker that binds lives irrevocably. It's this show-don't-tell approach that makes the mythology stick, turning casual viewers into devoted fans who debate the finer points of high-table politics or the exact value of a single gold coin in assassin economy. One of the most underrated strengths is how the film uses silence and minimal dialogue to convey character depth, especially with Keanu Reeves at the center. John Wick speaks sparingly. His words are few but weighted, often delivered in that gravelly monotone that somehow carries exhaustion, determination, and quiet rage all at once. Reeves doesn't need monologues to make you feel John's inner conflict. It's in the pauses, the heavy sighs, the way he stares at reflections or old photographs before steeling himself for another impossible task. This restraint creates space for the action to breathe, making explosive sequences hit even harder because they've been built up with quiet tension. The supporting characters follow suit. Ruby Rose's Ares communicates entire threats through gestures and expressions. Common's Cassian lets his eyes and body language do the talking during their brutal confrontations. And Ian McShane's Winston commands rooms with measured words that feel like royal decrees. It's a masterclass in less is more acting, where every performer understands that in this world, true power often lies in what isn't said. The locations themselves become characters too, each one meticulously chosen to reflect different facets of the underworld. The New York Continental feels like a timeless sanctuary amid urban chaos. Dark wood paneling, crystal chandeliers, and hushed corridors where killers in blood-stained suits sip cocktails without a second glance. Rome, on the other hand, brings ancient grandeur into the mix. Marble halls echoing with footsteps, underground catacombs lit by flickering torches, crowded streets where history and modernity collide in spectacular violence. The production team didn't just film pretty backdrops, they integrated architecture into the action. Pillars for cover, staircases for dramatic falls, reflective surfaces for disorientation. Even smaller sets, like the sommelier's underground armory or the tailor's fitting room, are designed with such loving detail that they feel functional and lived in, complete with vintage weapons displays and fabric swatches that hint at tactical specifications. The evolution of the gun fu style reaches its peak here, blending Hong Kong-inspired fluidity with American tactical precision in ways that feel innovative yet respectful of origins. Fights aren't just about who shoots first. They're about economy of movement, environmental awareness, and seamless transitions between ranged and close-quarters combat. Watch how John clears rooms, pieing corners, using cover effectively, switching to secondary weapons without missing a beat. It's almost educational in its realism, drawn from consultations with special forces operators and competitive shooters. Yet, it's never dry. The choreography adds flair with spins, throws, and improvised weapons that keep things cinematic. The stunt performers, many of whom are martial arts champions in their own right, bring individuality to each opponent, ensuring no two fights feel the same. One might favor aggressive rushes, another precise knife work, a third overwhelming numbers. The emotional undercurrent runs deeper than you might expect from an action film. Beneath the relentless pace lies a story about consequences, the ripple effects of past choices catching up, the impossibility of true retirement when your legend precedes you, the loneliness of being the best at something that destroys everything you love. Moments of quiet humanity shine through. John's brief interactions with his new canine companion, the way he honors agreements even when they doom him, the fleeting respect shown between warriors who understand the cost better than anyone. It's this heart that prevents the violence from becoming numbing. Every kill carries weight because you know what it's costing John inside. The legacy of Chapter 2 extends far beyond its immediate success. It set the template for the sequels, escalating stakes while deepening lore, maintaining practical action as the core philosophy, trusting audiences with complex world rules. It inspired a wave of films trying to capture that magic, from upgraded stunt work in blockbusters to indie projects embracing long takes and real impacts. The franchise's expansion into television with the Continental series, upcoming spin-offs like Ballerina, and even animated projects all trace back to the confidence this chapter displayed in growing the universe thoughtfully. For anyone creating content around it, there's endless material. Break down specific sequences frame by frame, explore the real-world training that made it possible, discuss how it revitalized Keanu's status as an action icon, analyze the neo-noir influences from classic cinema. It's a film that invites dissection, yet works perfectly on pure visceral level. No analysis required to feel the rush. As we keep celebrating this masterpiece, remember that John Wick. Chapter 2 succeeded because it respected its audience, delivered exactly what was promised and more, and never compromised its vision for broader appeal. It's stylish without being pretentious, violent without being gratuitous, entertaining without being empty. In a time when many sequels play it safe, this one swung big and connected perfectly, proving that bold creativity pays off. And let's keep the momentum going because talking about John Wick. Chapter 2 feels like reliving the thrill all over again, and there's still so much more to appreciate about this film that turned a gritty revenge story into a full-fledged modern mythos that continues to captivate audiences worldwide. One aspect that doesn't get enough credit is the incredible production design. The way every set, every prop, every costume detail works in harmony to create a visual language that's instantly recognizable as the John Wick universe. From the gold-trimmed bars of the Continental, where assassins in tailored suits discuss business over aged whiskey, to the underground vaults filled with ancient weapons and maps charting forbidden territories, everything feels purposeful and steeped in history. The designers drew inspiration from real-world luxury hotels, classic noir films, and even religious iconography to craft spaces that feel sacred yet sinister, places where beauty and danger coexist seamlessly. The Rome locations, especially, blend Renaissance opulence with brutal functionality. Think marble statues standing silent witness to gunfire, ornate fountains running red, vast museums emptying as chaos erupts, turning historic beauty into the perfect stage for contemporary carnage without ever feeling disrespectful or gimmicky. The costume design is equally brilliant, evolving John's look just enough to show progression while keeping that iconic silhouette intact. His suits aren't just sharp, they're functional armor, with Luca Mosca incorporating subtle reinforcements that allow for full mobility during the most intense sequences. The color palette stays dark and muted for John, blacks, grays, deep navies, to emphasize his shadowy existence, while antagonists get bolder accents, Santino's richer fabrics and patterns signaling entitlement, Ares' tactical black with metallic edges reflecting her precision and menace. Even minor characters have distinct styles that hint at background. The Bowery King's layered rags hiding strategic gear, Cassian's clean tactical wear showing his elite status. These choices aren't superficial. They reinforce hierarchy, personality, and the idea that in this world, appearance is part of survival. The lighting design deserves its own paragraph because Dan Laustsen and his team turned shadows into a co-star. Scenes in the catacombs use practical torches and minimal fill light to create pools of darkness where threats lurk, making every reveal feel earned and terrifying. Neon signs in New York cast colorful glows on rain-slicked pavement, turning streets into vibrant yet dangerous playgrounds. The Hall of Mirrors sequence plays with light and reflection masterfully, using practical bulbs and mirrors to multiply images naturally, disorienting both characters and audience in a way CGI could never match. High-contrast lighting during fights highlights sweat, blood, and strain on faces, while softer warms in Continental interiors suggest false security. It's moody, atmospheric filmmaking that enhances every emotion without overpowering the action. And speaking of action, the variety here is staggering. From high-speed car chases that wreck dozens of vehicles in practical crashes, to intimate knife duels where every block and parry feels personal, to large-scale assaults where John faces overwhelming numbers yet prevails through superior tactics and unrelenting focus. The choreography team introduced more environmental interaction this time, using walls for rebounds, tables as shields, stairs for momentum shifts, even musical instruments in that concert hall moment. Each sequence has its own flavor. The opening retrieval feels raw and mechanical, Rome's battles elegant yet savage, the final confrontations desperate and inventive. They filmed with multiple cameras to capture long, unbroken takes, preserving spatial awareness so you never lose track of who's where, making victories feel intelligent rather than lucky. The soundscape is immersive perfection, layering realistic effects with stylized flourishes. Gunshots vary by weapon and environment. Sharp cracks outdoors, muffled thuds in enclosed spaces, silenced whispers that still carry menace. Melee impacts have weight. Bone-crunching thuds, fabric tears, labored grunts that sell exhaustion. The score weaves in seamlessly, dropping to near silence during stealthy moments before erupting with electronic pulses and orchestral fury. Foley artists created custom sounds for everything, from coins clinking in payment to mirrors shattering in cascades, building a world you can almost hear breathing. Character arcs develop subtly but powerfully through actions rather than speeches. John's journey from reluctant participant to full acceptance of his fate is shown in escalating commitment. He starts measured and precise, conserving energy, but as stakes rise, he becomes more brutal, more inventive, more willing to destroy everything around him. Supporting players get meaningful beats too. Winston's growing concern hinting at future conflicts, Cassian's respect turning personal, the Bowery King's opportunistic philosophy clashing with John's rigid honor. Even one-off characters leave impressions through small gestures, a nod of acknowledgement, a final defiant stand. The film's pacing masterclass keeps 122 minutes feeling both epic and tight. No scene wastes time, yet nothing feels rushed. Quiet buildup creates investment. Explosive payoffs deliver satisfaction. Brief respites allow emotional processing. It builds dread masterfully, making you anticipate consequences even as you revel in the spectacle. Its influence continues growing, training academies teaching Wick-style techniques, fashion brands releasing tactical suits, filmmakers citing its clarity as inspiration. The franchise owes its sustained quality to decisions made here, prioritizing practical over digital, character over plot gimmicks, escalation through world logic rather than bigger explosions. And let's take a moment to truly appreciate the visual splendor of John Wick. Chapter 2. Because this film isn't just heard, it's seen in ways that burn into your memory, with imagery that's as iconic as the action itself. The official posters alone set the tone perfectly. Keanu Reeves standing tall in his signature black suit, hair slicked back, eyes burning with that quiet intensity, often framed against explosive backdrops of swirling guns, shattered glass, or shadowy city skylines that hint at the global scale of the chaos to come. Some posters focus on his silhouette walking through rain-soaked streets with weapons drawn. Others highlight the gold coins and markers that symbolize the unbreakable bonds of this underworld, all rendered in a moody palette of deep blacks, blood reds, and metallic golds that scream neo-noir elegance mixed with unrelenting danger. These visuals aren't just marketing tools, they're extensions of the film's aesthetic, promising a world where style and violence are inseparable, and they deliver on that promise from the very first frame. Now, dive into the heart-pounding action with scenes that have become legendary in modern cinema. Picture John gearing up in the tailor's shop, standing stoically as he's measured for a new tactical suit. 2 buttons, lined with advanced fabric that can stop bullets while allowing full range of motion, demonstrated with casual shots that puncture the material, yet leave the wearer unscathed. Then there's the catacombs beneath Rome, narrow, torchlit tunnels filled with skeletal remains and armed guards, where John moves like a ghost, switching between silenced pistols and brutal hand-to-hand as echoes amplify every shot and scuffle. The concert hall sequence blends high culture with high stakes, elegant musicians fleeing in panic as John pursues his target amid crashing spotlights, and classical melodies clashing against gunfire. And of course, that unforgettable Hall of Mirrors climax, an infinite maze of reflections where every image could be friend or foe, shards exploding in slow-motion cascades as John and his adversary navigate the disorienting labyrinth, turning a classic trope into something fresh and terrifyingly tense. The cinematography captures all this with breathtaking precision. Dan Lawson uses wide shots to showcase the full choreography of fights, letting you see bodies flying and bullets flying in real space without disorienting cuts. Close-ups linger on Keanu's face during quieter moments, revealing the toll through subtle furrows in his brow, or the way his jaw clenches before unleashing hell. Neon lights paint New York's night scenes in electric blues and purples, while Rome's golden hour sunlight bathes ancient ruins in warm tones that contrast sharply with the cold brutality unfolding within them. Reflections are a recurring theme: mirrors, water pools, glass windows, all symbolizing John's fractured life, the multiplicity of threats, and the deception inherent in this world of assassins. The camera often stays low or tracks smoothly behind John as he advances, making you feel like you're right there, stalking through danger with him. Color grading ties everything together into a cohesive visual feast. Desaturated tones for gritty realism, punctuated by vivid reds for blood and markers that stand out like warnings. Night scenes dominate, with practical lighting from street lamps, headlights, and muzzle flashes creating dynamic shadows that hide and reveal threats organically. The aspect ratio frames the action expansively, making crowded battles feel chaotic yet controlled. Isolated moments feel profoundly lonely. It's filmmaking that respects the audience's eye, guiding attention without handholding, rewarding rewatches with new appreciations for composition and symbolism. The iconic imagery extends to smaller but unforgettable details. John's Mustang roaring through destruction in the opening, its gleaming black paint scratched and dented as a metaphor for his own battered return. The gold coins stacked neatly in payment, glinting under dim lights as currency of death. The marker opened like a sacred relic, its blood thumbprint sealing fates irrevocably. Even the Continental's lobby, plush carpets, ornate railings, discreet staff moving with practiced efficiency, creates a visual sanctuary that lulls you before the next storm. Rome's landmarks integrate seamlessly. The Spanish Steps crowded, then emptied, fountains reflecting chaos, catacombs stretching into endless dark. These visuals aren't gratuitous. They serve the story, heightening emotion and stakes. When John stands atop a rooftop overlooking the city, wind whipping his coat, it's not just cool. It's a moment of brief freedom before plunging back in. When mirrors shatter around him, it's not just spectacle, it's his world fracturing further. The imagery reinforces themes of isolation, legacy, and unstoppable momentum, making every frame feel deliberate. This visual mastery is why screenshots from Chapter 2 became wallpapers, why fans recreate poses and scenes, why the aesthetic influenced everything from fashion shoots to video games. It's a film that looks as good paused as it does in motion, where every composition could hang in a gallery yet propels the narrative forward relentlessly. And let's linger a little longer on the sheer brilliance of John Wick, Chapter 2's action choreography, because if there's one thing that elevates this film to legendary status, it's the way every fight feels like a meticulously crafted masterpiece, raw, realistic, and relentlessly inventive all at once. The stunt team, led by director Chad Stahelski and his 8711 crew, didn't just throw together cool moves, they built entire sequences around clear rules of engagement, tactical realism, and escalating difficulty that make John's victories feel hard-earned rather than handed to him by plot convenience. From the very opening moments, where John reclaims his Mustang in a warehouse filled with crashing cars and brutal takedowns, you get a sense of the physical toll. Metal twisting, glass shattering, bodies slamming against hoods with bone-jarring force. Reeves performs most of these drives and impacts himself, drifting that iconic 1969 Mach 1 with precision while dodging attackers who leap onto the vehicle, turning a simple retrieval into a symphony of vehicular destruction that's as satisfying as it is chaotic. Then the film shifts to Rome, and the action evolves into something almost balletic in its brutality. The Catacombs fight stands out as one of the finest extended sequences in modern action cinema. John descends into those ancient tunnels armed with a silenced AR-15 and a handful of magazines, methodically clearing room after room of heavily armed guards who know he's coming yet can't stop him. The choreography emphasizes ammo management. He counts shots, switches weapons when empty, incorporates grapples, and throws when enemies close in, all captured in long, unbroken takes that let you track every movement and decision. Muzzle flashes light the darkness sporadically. Shadows dance across stone walls lined with skulls, and the sound of suppressed gunfire mixes with grunts and bodies hitting the ground in a rhythm that's almost hypnotic. It's not just shooting, it's survival chess played at breakneck speed, where positioning, cover, and reload timing determine life or death. The variety keeps everything fresh. No two major set pieces repeat the same formula. After the underground assault comes a chase through Rome's crowded streets and historic sites, blending foot pursuit with vehicle mayhem as John evades reinforcements on motorcycles and in cars, weaving through traffic and narrow alleys with heart-stopping near misses. Then there's the subway confrontation with Cassian, a purely personal duel that strips away guns for long stretches in favor of knives, fists, and environmental weapons, crashing into passengers, stabbing through glass, tumbling down escalators in a blur of motion that feels viciously intimate. Common matches Reeves beat for beat, their mutual respect shining through even as they try to end each other, culminating in a moment of forced truce that's as tense as any explosion. And saving the best for the climax, the Hall of Mirrors sequence reimagines a classic concept with modern execution. John stalks his final target through a gallery of infinite reflections, every angle potentially deadly, every shadow a possible ambush. Gunshots shatter glass in cascading waves, distorting reality further as duplicates multiply and fragments rain down. The choreography here plays with misdirection. Fake-outs where you think a reflection is the real threat. Quick draws that shatter illusions, close quarters finishes amid the wreckage. It's disorienting yet crystal clear, innovative yet homage-filled. And the practical construction of the set with real mirrors ensures every shard and reflection feels authentic rather than digitally faked. What ties all these sequences together is the commitment to practicality. Real stunts, real impacts, real exhaustion etched on faces. Reeves trained for months alongside professionals who became the on-screen assassins, drilling transitions from judo throws to firearm retention, from car fu to knife disarms. The result is action that respects physics and human limits while pushing them to cinematic extremes. Opponents aren't cannon fodder, they're skilled, forcing John to adapt constantly, grappling when out of ammo, using the environment when outnumbered, conserving energy when possible because you can see the fatigue building. This choreography influenced an entire generation of action films, proving that clarity and creativity trump rapid cuts and CGI overkill. Directors now cite Chapter 2 when explaining their approach to fights. Stunt coordinators reference its long takes and tactical integration. Audiences demand the same level of craftsmanship. It's why the franchise maintained quality through 4 films and beyond, because this chapter set an uncompromisable standard. The action isn't mindless either. It serves character and theme. Every fight deepens John's tragedy. He's unstoppable, yet unwilling, a force of nature destroying himself to honor a code that's rigging the game against him. The increasing damage to his suits, the bloodier wounds, the heavier breathing, all visual cues that the cost is mounting even as he prevails. For anyone passionate about action cinema, Chapter 2 is required study. Watch how sequences build tension through setup and geography, how performers sell pain and effort, how editing preserves spatial awareness. It's the gold standard for gunfu, for practical spectacle, for making violence feel consequential. And here's something that really sets John Wick. Chapter 2. Apart from so many other action movies, it's not just about the spectacle of violence, but about making that violence feel meaningful, consequential, and deeply tied to the soul of its protagonist. Every bullet fired, every bone broken, every life taken carries the weight of John's past, his unbreakable sense of duty, and the tragic reality that he's a man who excels at the one thing that's slowly destroying him from the inside. The film never glorifies the killing for its own sake. Instead, it shows the exhaustion, the hesitation in quieter moments, the way John pauses to honor fallen foes who fought with the same professionalism he respects. This isn't a power fantasy where the hero walks away unscathed and smiling. It's a story of a legend paying an ever-mounting price for living by a code in a world that exploits it ruthlessly. You feel the toll in every labored breath, every blood-soaked suit, every glance at the new dog that represents the fragile hope he's clinging to after losing everything before. The themes weave through the entire narrative like threads in a tapestry: honor versus survival, the inescapability of one's reputation, the bureaucracy of death, in a society that romanticizes yet regulates killing. The High Table isn't just a shadowy organization. It's a metaphor for institutionalized power that demands loyalty while offering no mercy, pulling strings from afar while men like John bleed on the ground. Markers represent promises that transcend personal desire, blood oaths that bind tighter than any law, forcing John to act against his own peace, because breaking one would erode the very principles that define him. It's profoundly tragic. He's the best there ever was, yet that skill is a curse, drawing endless challenges and obligations that strip away any chance at normalcy. The film explores this without heavy-handed dialogue, letting actions and consequences speak volumes. A man dragged back into hell to settle a debt, only to ignite a war that consumes everything around him. Character development shines through these themes, especially in the supporting players who reflect different paths John could have taken. Santino D'Antonio embodies entitlement born from inheritance. He manipulates the system rather than mastering it through skill, using markers as weapons of cowardice rather than honor. Cassian, on the other hand, is John's mirror, equally lethal, equally professional, driven by personal loyalty rather than greed, making their clashes feel like duels between equals who understand each other's pain. The Bowery King represents adaptation outside the system, ruling the marginalized with cunning and networks that parallel the Continental's luxury, but from the streets up. Winston and Karen show institutional loyalty, guardians of rules that provide structure, yet enable endless cycles of violence. Even Ares, silent and fierce, illustrates devotion without question, a path John once walked before loss shattered it. These characters aren't villains or allies in black and white terms. They're facets of the same brutal world, each highlighting what John has lost, what he clings to, and what he risks becoming. Emotionally, the film hits harder on rewatches because you notice the quiet heartbreak woven in. Flashbacks to John's late wife aren't overdone, but their subtle presence grounds everything. Reminders of the life he almost reclaimed, the peace shattered first by grief and now by duty. The new pit bull at his side isn't comic relief. It's a symbol of vulnerability, a living tie to humanity that makes you fear for its safety as much as John's. Moments of connection, like shared nods with worthy opponents or Winston's paternal concern, offer fleeting warmth in a cold universe, making the isolation sting deeper. The ending delivers a devastating emotional punch, shifting John's status irrevocably and leaving him more alone than ever, yet defiant in his choices. This depth is why the film resonates beyond action fans. It's a modern tragedy dressed in stylish suits and gunfire, exploring how legends are both made and broken by their own myths. John isn't celebrating victories, he's surviving them, one reluctant step at a time. The tragedy elevates the thrills. When he prevails against impossible odds, it's cathartic, because you know the cost. Bittersweet because peace slips further away. Critics and audiences picked up on this, praising how Chapter 2 adds soul to its style, turning a revenge flick series into something profound without losing pulse-pounding entertainment. It's why fans connect so deeply, seeing in John a reflection of unbreakable resolve amid personal ruin, honor in a dishonorable world. And let's circle back to what makes John Wick. Chapter 2. Such an enduring favorite among action enthusiasts and cinephiles alike. The seamless way it balances high-concept world-building with intensely personal storytelling, creating a film that feels both larger than life and intimately human at the same time. The expanded mythology introduced here isn't just window dressing. It's integral to every conflict, every decision John makes, turning what could have been a straightforward mission into a labyrinth of alliances, betrayals, and ancient traditions that pull him deeper into the abyss. The Continental isn't merely a fancy hotel, it's a neutral sanctuary governed by ironclad rules that everyone fears breaking. A place where the most dangerous people on Earth can coexist without immediate bloodshed, yet tension simmers just beneath the surface, because everyone knows those rules can be bent or exploited by those with enough power or cunning. The introduction of the High Table as an overseeing council adds layers of intrigue, showing that even the deadliest assassins answer to someone, that there's a hierarchy built on fear, favor, and unbreakable oaths that can topple lives with a single decree. This world feels alive because the film populates it with characters who embody different philosophies within the same brutal ecosystem. Winston manages the New York Continental with a blend of elegance and authority, a man who believes in the system because he's helped shape it, yet shows subtle cracks of concern for those caught in its gears. His counterpart in Rome, Julius, carries the same gravitas but with a European flair, reinforcing that these rules span continents and cultures without losing their sacred weight. The Bowery King operates entirely outside this polished structure, building his own empire from the forgotten and discarded, using pigeons as spies in a clever twist that highlights how information is power at every level. Then there are the enforcers, like Ares, whose silence speaks volumes about loyalty pushed to fanatic extremes, or Cassian, whose pursuit feels honorable rather than vengeful because he understands the code on a visceral level. Each character adds texture, showing that this isn't a monolithic underworld but a complex society with its own politics, economies, and moral gray areas. The script by Derek Kolstad deserves immense credit for how cleanly it integrates all this lore, never overwhelming with exposition dumps, instead revealing rules through natural conversations, demonstrations, and consequences. You learn about markers by seeing one invoked with solemn ritual, understand Continental sanctuary by witnessing its enforcement, grasp the value of gold coins by watching them change hands for services both mundane and macabre. It's elegant storytelling that respects your intelligence, letting you discover the depth gradually while the plot hurtles forward relentlessly. The dialogue itself is sparse but sharp. Lines land with impact because they're earned, whether it's deadpan humor in the sommelier scene recommending weapons like vintage wines, or chilling threats delivered with calm certainty. Production values across the board support this vision flawlessly. The attention to practical details extends to everything. Authentic firearm handling supervised by experts, vehicle stunts performed with real cars on closed streets, fight choreography rehearsed until muscle memory perfect. Locations were chosen and utilized with purpose. New York's gritty alleys and gleaming high-rises contrasting Rome's ancient stones and crowded piazzas, each shift in setting reflecting John's escalating predicament. The makeup team sells the progression of injuries realistically, cuts that scab over, bruises that darken, blood that stains and dries, making the physical punishment feel cumulative rather than reset per scene. The film's influence on modern action cinema can't be overstated. It reignited appreciation for long takes and clear geography in fights at a time when many blockbusters relied on shaky cam and rapid edits to mask shortcomings. Directors and stunt coordinators now reference its sequences when planning their own, aspiring to that same blend of realism and stylization. It proved that audiences crave competence and craft, that a mid-budget original built on practical effects and strong character work can outperform CGI-heavy tentpoles. The franchise's continued success and expansions all stem from the solid foundation laid here, where world expansion felt organic rather than forced, where stakes rose through logical escalation rather than arbitrary threats. What truly lingers, though, is the sense of inevitability that permeates the story. John's journey feels fated, a man whose skills and reputation make escape impossible, whose adherence to principles ensures his own downfall even as he triumphs in battle. It's this fatalistic undertone that gives the action its emotional punch. Every victory is Pyrrhic. Every step forward pushes him further from the peace he craves. Yet there's defiance in it too, a refusal to compromise his code even when the world demands it, making John not just a badass, but a compelling, tragic figure. And let's not forget the masterful way John Wick. Chapter 2 handles its pacing, because in a genre where many films either drag in quiet moments or exhaust you with non-stop chaos, this one strikes a perfect rhythm that keeps you hooked from start to finish without ever feeling manipulated or fatigued. It opens with a ferocious burst of energy, that raw, unrelenting sequence of John reclaiming his car through a demolition derby of crashes and close-quarters combat, immediately reminding you of the physical stakes and setting a tone of brutal efficiency. Then it cleverly pulls back, allowing brief moments of deceptive calm where John tries once more to walk away, interacting with familiar faces and reinforcing his desire for retirement before the central obligation crashes in and reignites everything. This ebb and flow continues throughout. Intense action, set pieces separated by shorter, tension-building scenes in opulent hotels or shadowy meetings, where words carry as much weight as weapons, and every conversation feels like a prelude to violence. The structure builds relentlessly toward higher stakes, starting personal and contained before expanding geographically and systematically, New York to Rome and back, as the consequences of one decision ripple outward into open warfare. Each major sequence tops the last in scale and creativity without ever feeling repetitive, because the film varies the style, setting, and type of threat. Vehicular mayhem giving way to underground gun battles, then street chases, intimate duels, cultural infiltrations, and finally, that disorienting mirrored climax. Yet it never rushes. Even during the longest fights, there's room to breathe, to register the exhaustion on John's face, the strategic pauses for reloads or repositioning, making the explosions of movement hit harder. The quieter interludes aren't filler, they deepen character, reveal lore, and heighten dread. So when the next wave hits, you're fully invested. This pacing mastery extends to the emotional beats too. Moments of reflection, like John staring at his wedding ring or sharing silent understanding with his canine companion, land because they've been earned amid the chaos, providing just enough humanity to make the relentless violence feel tragic rather than numbing. The film knows when to linger on aftermath. Bodies strewn in elegant halls, blood pooling on marble floors, John limping away bloodied but unbroken, reminding you that survival comes at a steep cost. It builds to a finale that delivers cathartic payoff while slamming the door on any hope of escape, leaving you exhilarated yet devastated in the best possible way. Credit goes to editor Evan Schiff for cutting it all together with precision, knowing exactly when to hold a wide shot to showcase choreography, when to tighten for impact, when to cut away to reaction or consequence. He avoids the trap of over-editing that plagues lesser action films, preserving spatial clarity and rhythmic flow so you always feel oriented yet overwhelmed by the intensity. Combined with Chad Stahelski's direction, which treats each sequence like a mini-film with its own arc, the result is a movie that feels perfectly proportioned. 2 hours that fly by yet leave you satisfied, never bloated or underdeveloped. This deliberate pacing is part of what makes rewatches so rewarding. You notice how early scenes plant seeds that pay off later, how tension simmers in safe spaces like the Continental, how the escalating body count mirrors John's descending hope. It respects your time and attention, delivering constant forward momentum while allowing space for the world and characters to breathe. And let's shine even more light on the outstanding performances that bring this intricate world to life, because John Wick. Chapter 2 isn't just a showcase for action, it's elevated by a cast that delivers nuance, charisma, and raw intensity in every scene they inhabit. At the center, of course, is Keanu Reeves, giving one of his most iconic and physically demanding performances as the titular legend. Reeves doesn't rely on flashy speeches or overt emotion. His John Wick communicates through action, posture, and those piercing eyes that convey a lifetime of loss, discipline, and barely contained fury. The way he moves, fluid yet deliberate, exhausted yet unstoppable, sells the character's superhuman skill while never losing the humanity underneath. Reeves prepared meticulously, dropping weight to look lean and haunted, growing his hair and beard for that unkempt yet purposeful appearance, and committing to the stunts with a dedication that makes every fight feel authentic. His quiet moments are just as powerful, a subtle flinch when reminded of his past, a gentle touch with his dog that reveals lingering softness, a resigned sigh before diving back into violence. It's a masterclass in restrained acting that carries the entire film on his shoulders without ever straining. The supporting players match him, stride for stride, turning what could have been archetypes into fully realized figures. Ian McShane returns as Winston with effortless authority, his velvety voice and measured delivery making every line feel like a proclamation from on high. He embodies the Continental's elegance and impartiality, yet subtle inflections hint at genuine concern for John, adding layers to their mentor-like relationship. Lance Reddick as Karen is the picture of impeccable professionalism, stoic, loyal, and subtly wry, his deadpan responses providing perfect counterpoints to the chaos around him. Their scenes together in the hotel lobby feel like calm harbors in a storm, grounding the mythology with quiet gravitas. New additions bring fresh energy and conflict, Riccardo Scamarcio's Santino D'Antonio is deliciously slimy yet sophisticated, a privileged operator who hides behind the system's rules while twisting them for personal gain. Scamarcio plays him with oily charm and barely concealed arrogance, making his demands feel both entitled and dangerously calculated. Common makes an immediate impact as Cassian, a John's equal in skill and a worthy adversary whose pursuit feels honorable rather than petty. His physicality shines in their brutal confrontations, but it's the mutual respect conveyed through glances and restrained violence that elevates their rivalry into something almost poignant. Ruby Rose's Ares stands out with her silent menace, communicating entirely through sharp gestures, fierce stares, and precise movement. She becomes a uniquely intimidating presence whose loyalty borders on fanaticism. Laurence Fishburne reunites with Reeves as the Bowery King, delivering theatrical flair and booming charisma that contrasts beautifully with the Continental's polish. His underground ruler, draped in rags yet commanding absolute power, adds philosophical depth and street-level grit, his scenes crackling with energy and subtle Matrix callbacks that enrich without distracting. Even smaller roles leave lasting impressions. Claudia Girini brings regal steel and quiet tragedy to her pivotal appearance. Franco Nero channels old-school gravitas as the Rome Continental manager. Peter Stormare ties back to the first film with menacing brevity, and John Leguizamo provides warm familiarity in his brief return. Every performer understands the tone, understated yet intense, professional yet personal, creating chemistry that makes interactions crackle even when words are few. This ensemble excellence stems from smart casting and direction that trusts actors to convey complexity through subtlety. Stahelski gave them room to inhabit their roles physically, encouraging improvisation in fights and naturalism in dialogue scenes. The result is a film where no performance feels out of place, where villains are compelling enough to almost sympathize with, where allies carry emotional weight that makes losses sting. And now, let's delve into the captivating score and sound design of John Wick. Chapter 2, elements that often go underappreciated in action films, but here serve as the pulsating heartbeat that drives every scene forward with impeccable timing and emotional resonance. Composed once again by Tyler Bates and Joel J. Richard, who built on their work from the first film, the soundtrack is a masterful fusion of electronic pulses, orchestral swells, and gritty industrial beats that perfectly mirror John's descent back into the underworld. Bates, with his experience from films like Guardians of the Galaxy, brings a sense of epic scale through soaring strings and thundering percussion that underscore the larger-than-life battles, while Richard adds those haunting minimalist motifs, subtle piano lines, and echoing synths that evoke John's inner solitude and lingering grief. Tracks like John Wick Mode ramp up with aggressive rhythms during high-octane sequences, syncing flawlessly with the rhythm of gunfire and impacts, while quieter pieces like Plastic Heart provide a melancholic backdrop to moments of reflection, blending classical influences with modern edge to create a sound that's as stylish and layered as the visual aesthetic. The score isn't just background, it's woven into the narrative fabric, evolving as the story progresses, starting with restrained, brooding tones in New York to match John's reluctance, then shifting to more operatic, Vivaldi-inspired remixes during the Rome segments to evoke the city's historic grandeur clashing with contemporary violence. One standout moment incorporates a classical piece during a concert hall pursuit, where the live music bleeds into the score, turning the chase into a deadly symphony that heightens the irony and tension. Licensed tracks are used sparingly but effectively, like the rock-infused Tick-Tock by Pusha T adding urban grit to street scenes, or nostalgic nods that tie back to John's past without overwhelming the original composition. The soundtrack album, released on Varese Sarabande, features 23 tracks that fans can dive into separately, but in the film, it's the seamless integration that makes it shine, guiding your emotions from quiet menace to explosive catharsis without ever feeling manipulative. Sound design elevates everything further, creating an auditory landscape that's immersive and visceral in Dolby Surround 7.1 glory. Every element is layered with precision, the sharp crack of suppressed pistols echoing in catacombs, the meaty thud of fists connecting in close combat, the screech of tires and crunch of metal in chases, all designed to make you feel present in the moment. Foley artists went all out for authenticity, recreating the clink of gold coins exchanging hands, the whisper of knives drawn from sheaths, the labored breathing of exhausted fighters that builds empathy for John's plight. Ambient sounds add depth too. The murmur of Continental lobbies filled with hushed killer conversations, the distant sirens of New York nights signaling encroaching danger, the ancient creaks of Roman tunnels amplifying claustrophobia. The mix ensures dialogue cuts through clearly when needed, but during action, it prioritizes chaos, overlapping impacts, ricochets, and grunts that create a symphony of destruction without muddling clarity. This audio excellence wasn't accidental. The team recorded with live orchestras for organic warmth, then distorted elements electronically to match the neo-noir vibe, collaborating closely with Stahelski to time swells with choreography beats. It's why watching with headphones or a good sound system transforms the experience. The rumble of engines vibrating through you, the whisper of sign language gestures from Ares feeling intimate, the silence after a kill hanging heavy with implication. The sound won nominations for its craft, deservedly so, as it complements the visuals perfectly, making the world feel tangible and the stakes auditory. And let's talk about the incredible legacy and lasting impact of John Wick. Chapter 2. Because this film didn't just succeed at the box office or with critics, it fundamentally changed the landscape of action cinema and solidified a franchise that continues to thrive years later. Released in 2017 with a modest $40 million budget, it went on to gross over $174 million worldwide, outperforming the original and proving that smart, stylish, mid-budget action built on practical stunts and strong storytelling could dominate in an era of superhero spectacles and CGI overload. Opening weekend alone pulled in over $30 million domestically, fueled by glowing word-of-mouth and rave reviews that praised its choreography, world expansion, and unrelenting intensity. It held strong against competition, benefiting from perfect timing and marketing that highlighted the escalated stakes and global scope without spoiling key moments. Critically, it landed with thunderous acclaim, an 89% on Rotten Tomatoes from critics who called it a rare sequel that improves on its predecessor, with consensus highlighting the balletic violence and kinetic marvel of its set pieces. Audience scores matched at 85%, with fans celebrating how it deepened the mythology while delivering even more jaw-dropping action. Awards recognition followed. Multiple Saturn Award wins, including Best Action or Adventure Film, nominations for stunt work, and Reeves's performance, cementing its status as a genre standout. Publications like Variety, The Hollywood Reporter, and Roger Ebert's site lavished praise on Stahelski's direction, Laustson's cinematography, and the overall craft that made it feel like a throwback to classic action elevated with modern precision. But the true legacy lies in its influence. John Wick. Chapter 2 reignited passion for practical stunt work at a time when many studios leaned heavily on digital effects, inspiring a wave of films that prioritized long takes, clear geography, and authentic physicality. Directors like those behind Atomic Blonde, Nobody, and even larger blockbusters began citing its sequences as benchmarks, while stunt coordinators pushed for more rehearsal time and performer showcases. It proved that gun fu, that seamless blend of martial arts and firearms, could be evolved into something fresh and exhilarating, influencing fight design across genres. The franchise's growth exploded from here. Chapter 3 in 2019, Chapter 4 in 2023, spin-offs like the Continental series and the upcoming Ballerina, all tracing their confidence back to this chapter's successful expansion of the universe. Culturally, it turned John Wick into a pop icon. Memes about pencils and invincibility flooded the internet. Halloween costumes of suited assassins became staples. Workout programs adopted Wick training for its jiu-jitsu and shooting drills. Fashion took note too, with brands releasing tactical suits inspired by the bulletproof tailoring scenes. Video games incorporated similar mechanics, merchandise from replica coins to high-end watches flew off shelves, and conventions featured panels dissecting its lore. Keanu Reeves' career resurgence reached new heights, reaffirming his status as a beloved action star who commits fully at any age. The film's endurance is remarkable. Streaming numbers remain strong, rewatches reveal new details in choreography and foreshadowing, and it holds up as the entry that bridged the intimate revenge origin to the epic saga it became. It avoided common sequel pitfalls, no diminishing returns, no forced humor diluting tension, no bloat, just pure escalation executed flawlessly. In retrospective lists of the decade's best action films, it consistently ranks near the top, often hailed as the pinnacle of the series for balancing innovation with heart. What makes this legacy so special is how it honored influences, from John Woo's heroic bloodshed to Bruce Lee's environmental combat, from spaghetti western loners to samurai codes, while forging something distinctly modern and timeless. It reminded Hollywood that audiences crave competence, style, and emotional stakes, that practical craftsmanship still trumps spectacle when done right, and one of the most fascinating aspects of John Wick. Chapter 2 that keeps fans coming back is the sheer amount of subtle trivia, behind-the-scenes details, and clever nods scattered throughout the film, turning it into a treasure trove for anyone who loves peeling back the layers of their favorite movies. For instance, the legendary pencil kill reputation isn't just hype. It's referenced multiple times with awe, and the film delivers on it in brutal, understated fashion, proving that in this world, even everyday objects become deadly in the right hands. The Hall of Mirrors finale draws direct inspiration from Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon and Orson Welles' The Lady from Shanghai, but Stahelski and his team modernized it with practical construction and innovative choreography, using real mirrors that shattered convincingly under gunfire for that chaotic, disorienting effect. Fun fact, they built the entire set on a soundstage, with hundreds of panes carefully rigged to break in sequence, ensuring safety while maximizing realism. Keanu Reeves' dedication went beyond stunts. He took a significant pay cut to help secure Laurence Fishburne's casting, eager for that Matrix reunion which pays off beautifully in their scenes together, complete with subtle callbacks like philosophical banter that feels earned rather than fan-servicey. Ruby Rose learned American Sign Language variations specifically for Ares, adding authenticity to her silent communication and those chilling conversations conveyed through gestures alone. The dog's breed, a pit bull, was chosen deliberately as a nod to the first film's tragedy, symbolizing John's attempt to rebuild some semblance of the life he lost, while the animal handlers ensured every scene with the pup highlighted loyalty without ever putting it in real danger. Location trivia adds flavor too. Much of Rome was filmed on actual historic sites, with permits allowing night shoots around landmarks like the Spanish Steps and ancient catacombs that doubled perfectly for the underground battles. The New York Continental exterior is the real Beaver Building in downtown Manhattan, while interiors blended practical hotel sets with sound stages dressed in opulent detail. The opening car sequence wrecked over 20 vehicles in practical crashes, with Reeves handling much of the precision driving himself after weeks on a closed course perfecting drifts in that beloved Mustang. One subtle goof that eagle-eyed viewers catch. Despite the tailor's demonstration of bullet-resistant fabric tearing under repeated impacts, John's suits stay remarkably pristine after absorbing punishment. Movie magic at work, but a charming nod to the stylized reality. Quotes from the film have become instantly quotable classics. The sommelier's deadpan tasting of tactical options like the Cabernet, bold yet balanced, or the Bowery King's theatrical, "He's a man of focus, commitment, sheer will," something you know very little about. Winston's calm declarations carry weight, like reminding everyone of Continental rules with understated menace. These lines land because the world treats them seriously, blending dry humor with genuine threat in a way that's uniquely Wick. Behind-the-scenes gems reveal the passion. The stunt team rehearsed for months, with many performers doubling as on-screen assassins to ensure consistency in fighting styles. Weapons were custom-modified for safety, but handled with real tactical expertise. Reeves trained to reload while grappling, incorporating center-axis relock stances that became signature. The production used over 300 firearms across sequences, all supervised meticulously. A deleted scene reportedly expanded the Bowery King's backstory, showing more of his pigeon network, but trimming kept the pace razor-sharp. Even technical trivia impresses. The film was shot on anamorphic lenses for that wide cinematic scope, with a 2.39:1 aspect ratio, capturing sprawling fights without losing intimacy. The UK release toned down one intense moment for a lower rating, but the uncut version preserves the raw edge. Easter eggs tied to the broader universe, tattoos hinting at high table ranks, coins bearing Latin inscriptions that translate to underworld mottos, subtle foreshadowing for future conflicts in seemingly throwaway lines. This wealth of detail is why the film rewards multiple viewings. First for the adrenaline, second for the craft, third for the hidden gems that deepen appreciation. It's a movie made with love for the genre, packed with references to action classics while innovating boldly. Trivia that doesn't just inform, it enhances the mythos, making the world feel richer, the legend more lived in. And let's explore yet another layer of what makes John Wick, Chapter 2, such a standout achievement: the impeccable production design and attention to every visual and practical detail that transforms it from a mere action film into a fully immersive, believable underworld that feels as real as it is stylized. The art direction, led by a team that understood the importance of texture and authenticity, crafted environments that aren't just backdrops but active participants in the storytelling. The Continental Hotel, for example, blends real luxury with subtle menace. Rich mahogany paneling, crystal decanters glinting under soft lighting, antique furniture that suggests centuries of secrets absorbed into the walls, all designed to convey a sanctuary that's opulent yet oppressive, where killers in blood-spattered suits can sip fine scotch without raising an eyebrow. Every prop in these spaces tells a story. The guest ledger bound in leather, the no cell phone signs enforced with deadly seriousness, the discreet elevators leading to restricted floors, all reinforcing the rigid etiquette that governs this hidden society. In Rome, the design shifts to evoke timeless power and family legacy. Grand villas with frescoed ceilings and marble statues that contrast sharply with the modern violence spilling across them. Underground armories disguised as wine cellars stocked with vintage rifles alongside ancient blades. Catacombs lined with real-inspired skeletal niches that amplify the sense of descending into hell. The production designers sourced authentic Italian architecture references, blending practical locations with meticulously dressed sets to create seamless transitions. Crowded piazzas emptying into silent kill zones, reflective fountains capturing chaos in rippling distortions. Even transient spaces like subway platforms or museum galleries are layered with detail. Period-appropriate artwork that civilians flee past, tactical gear hidden in plain sight, environmental elements like pillars and railings that become improvised weapons without feeling contrived. Props are treated with the same reverence. Those gold coins aren't generic. They're custom minted with intricate engravings and hefty weight that makes every transaction feel ceremonial, clinking audibly as payment for services ranging from medical care to corpse disposal. The marker, that blood oath token, is a beautifully crafted leather case with a removable cross emblem, its thumbprint seal in crimson adding visceral symbolism. Weapons span eras and styles: classic revolvers for tradition, modern tacticals for efficiency, exotic choices like the AR-15 with suppressor for stealth, all selected to reflect character preferences and narrative needs. The bulletproof suits, demonstrated with casual flair by the tailor, incorporate real flexible materials and prototypes, blending high fashion with functional armor in a way that's both clever and cool. Costume design ties it all together masterfully, evolving the aesthetic while maintaining cohesion. John's wardrobe stays predominantly black for stealth and mourning, but subtle variations, sharper cuts in Rome for blending in, progressively damaged fabrics showing wear, chart his journey visually. Antagonists get bolder palettes and textures, Santino's luxurious wools and silks signaling old money, Ares' matte tactical wear with metallic accents for silent threat. The Bowery King's layered urban rags hiding practical tools. Even background assassins have individualized gear, some in business attire for concealment, others in overt tactical vests when rules allow, creating a visual hierarchy that's instantly readable. This level of detail extends to vehicles too. The Mustang as John's last personal relic, battered yet roaring back to life. Sleek European cars for Italian operatives reflecting cultural flair. Anonymous black SUVs for reinforcements emphasizing faceless enforcement. Makeup and effects sell the progression. Wounds that swell and bruise realistically, blood that spatters and dries, sweat that beads under strain, all practical where possible to maintain tangibility. The cumulative effect is a world that feels expansive yet consistent, where every element reinforces the mythology without overwhelming it. Designers collaborated closely with Stahelski from pre-production, storyboarding how spaces would influence action. Stairs for falls, mirrors for misdirection, open lobbies for tense standoffs. It's production design that serves story, character, and spectacle equally, making immersion effortless.